This is a continuation of a poem by the medieval writer Alcuin of York, in which he tells a story about a rooster and a wolf. And this story is an early version of what became the nun's priest's tale in the Canterbury Tales. And again, he is writing in dactylic hexameter, the meter of classical Greek and Latin poetry, with some stylistic features that are similar to Virgil. And we looked in the previous video at the opening 4 lines or so of the poem, in which Alcuin describes in very flowery, exaggerated language the main character of the story, the gallus, or rooster. We'll try to take a look at the next 6 lines, which establish what happens in the first part of the story, although I think these 2 lines are still describing the character of the rooster. I do not have access to an English translation of the poem. If a student can find one and perhaps correct my understanding of the poem, that would be very welcome. But we have these 2 lines. Hunc laudans Deus intellectum dicit habere, quip esse obscuro dirimat qui tempora peplo. So the masculine singular and nominative Deus is the subject. God dicit, God says that, oh God who is praising him. Hunc probably refers to Gallus, the rooster. So the subject of the sentence, this 5th line, is Deus, God, praising him, the rooster, says that he has habere, an understanding, an intellect. And this footnote would probably point us, if we could find the reference, to perhaps a passage in Scripture. So it's a continuation of a description of the rooster. God, perhaps somewhere in Scripture, says that the rooster has an understanding or an intellect. Indeed, or for sure, he is the one who. I am not sure whether this refers to God or to the rooster. So again, if someone can find an English translation and correct my understanding, that would be welcome. So qui is the relative pronoun who in the masculine singular and nominative, and the verb is dirimat, which means to separate or to divide. Tempora, times, neuter, plural, and accusative. So the one who divides the times, separates or organizes times under, sub is a preposition, under an obscure or hidden cloak. So it may be God who organizes times and seasons under a hidden cloak. Perhaps it's the idea that God is the one who decides how much time we all get in this life, which seems to be a theme of the poem, if I'm not mistaken. So now we get the actual story. The word quondam, once upon a time, introduces the action of the story. Pro dolor, oh no. Pro dolor hunc longe properantem septa viarum artarant quondam dum temptat pabula rostro. So pro dolor is just a sort of exclamation that means, oh no, such an awful thing is about to happen. So once upon a time, quondam. I think that septa is the subject of the sentence, but it's a perfect passive participle, meaning something like cut off or hedged in or surrounded. So I'm not sure what it means. A septa viarum, a cutting off of ways, artarant, enclosed. Now the object of enclosed, now this is a syncopated form of the verb artaverant, which is pluperfect. So something like a cutting off of ways had enclosed. Properantem comes from the verb propero, properare, which means to hurry. It's a present participle, and it's acting like a noun here. So a parting of ways enclosed, or cut off the route, of the one who was hurrying. It's masculine, singular, and accusative. So I'm assuming it's referring to the character of the rooster. So the rooster was hurrying along. Maybe he came to a place where he was cut off or surrounded in the road. Perhaps he was running along in a road and he was cut off or surrounded. Perhaps a long way. He was hurrying a long way. and hunk is this one. So hunk here is really the direct object of artarant. So the subject is septa, the verb is artarant, hunk is the direct object. So I think this sentence means something like the rooster was hurrying along, he went a long ways off, and perhaps he got cut off or enclosed somewhere in the road. Now dum is while he was temptat, trying or seeking or looking for food with his beak. Now rostro means beak, but it can also mean something like a speaker's platform in the Roman Forum, the place where a public speaker would give a speech. So I don't know whether the poet intended to have a double meaning, or he just means that this rooster was running around looking for food in the street, pecking at the food with his beak. So this established what's going on in the story. So, ergo kibos solus dum quaerens competa lustrat, heu iactans audaxque nemis, multumque superbus, insidianta lupexcipitur. So we'll stop at this half of the line. There's an elision between lupo and excipitur, where this syllable, because it ends in a vowel, drops out, and we just get one syllable. They sort of run together. Lupexcipitur, when you speak the poem. So let me erase some of this mess. So we have the first sort of action of the story here, I believe. Therefore, solus, alone, in its masculine singular and nominative, I think, referring to the rooster. So the rooster was by himself. He was seeking, this is a present participle, he was seeking his food. So while, dum, he was alone seeking his food, he lustrat, he is, this is all present tense, he's surveying, I think competa here is neuter plural and accusative and means something like his domains. Lustrat can mean to survey or to wander around. So he was either wandering around or he was surveying his domains. He is. It's all in the present tense here. Heu is an exclamation that means something like, oh no. I believe that's what's happening. Alas, oh no. Iactans, boasting, and audax, bold or daring, too much. So he was boasting, and he was too daring, and multumque, he was very proud. So this is all just in the nominative, describing the character of the rooster, perhaps because he wandered too far away from his farm, perhaps because he was distracted looking out over his domains, perhaps because he was in the act of crowing. But either way, he was too proud. He is excipitur, he is snatched out by a wolf. This seems to be an ablative of instrument, or it may be an ablative absolute. But the story seems to be saying that he was snatched out by a wolf who was lying in wait. So a wolf was hiding there. The rooster was snatched out either while the wolf was hiding in wait or by the wolf that was hiding, lying in wait. Next part of the poem. Then we'll find out how the rooster reacts to this situation.